Hey, what's up guys? Sai here. I'm excited to show you what I think is a pretty sweet deck choice, at least insofar as best of one historic goes. Maybe even best of three historic. We'll see. But without further ado, let's take a look at the deck. Yep, you guessed it. It's the so-called Infinite Squirrels combo deck, which kind of has parallels to a lot of modern decks with the Devoted Druid combo, or exploiting the Heliod Suncrown Planeswalker to gain infinite life or deal infinite damage with a Walking Ballista. But anyways, that's modern. In historic, what we got going on is, of course, the combo that everybody's aware of at this point, involving Skirioke, Heliod, and any creature that can gain you life when the token comes into play to just set up the infinite loop, and in other words, make infinite squirrels. But I want to explain my theory behind this build. The objective is really just, all we're trying to do is be as consistent as possible and as quickly as possible, just execute the combo. A lot of traps I think people, at least myself, fall into when you're trying to build a deck is just trying to be prepared for every possible thing you're going to see in the meta. Like, for example, we recently had the Tibalt's Trickery combo running amok in Historic, and I was running different kinds of builds where you would run Thalia to try to prevent them from going off. But I think for just best of one gameplay, your best bet is to just focus on trying to do one thing that's really powerful. So that's my objective here. So if we take a look at each card choice, it's kind of similar to the Soul Sisters deck in Modern, where you have the Soul Warden and the other creature in Modern where you can gain a life whenever a creature enters the battlefield. But in this case, we've got the new entry, Lunar Veteran, which is pretty sweet, very similar to Soul Warden, obviously. It's not strictly better or worse, it's just different. With the ability to play Disturb makes this creature better suited against control. I mean, it's not really going to do that much, getting a creature of flying 1/1 Phantom back from the graveyard, but it is a little bit better than a Soul Warden, where obviously a Soul Warden is going to be a lot better in other creature-based matchups where, for example, if you're playing against elves, and this is just gonna gain so much life, it'll be ridiculous. And then in the 2-drop slot, we've got, which seems kind of like kind of just a newbie, kind of primitive strategy in a Johnny's Pridemate, but you'd be surprised at just how powerful this guy really is. I mean, I've had many situations playing people in Top Mythic, playing Merfolk, and this thing can just outrun Merfolk. It gets so large so quickly that you could just kind of bully them at combat and just force them to block, because it just gets so big and must be dealt with. And that's a good thing in this deck, to have a creature that's got a huge target on its back and must be dealt with immediately, because if people use their removal spells on this guy, which oftentimes they're pressured and they have to do so, that's just less removal for your more important combo pieces, that all you need to do is connect, and you're practically winning the game from that point, because not a lot of decks can come back from theoretical infinite life and infinite squirrels. Similar to a Johnny's Pridemate, we've got another relatively new entry in Sara Moondancer, which is pretty sweet, actually. Strictly better than the Pridemate, except for, of course, being a legendary creature. But what's really powerful with this card is the ability to scry when you gain a life. This is so powerful in a combo deck like this, because, again, if you're playing against like elves or another creature deck, or even just casting creatures of your own, you're going to gain so much life that this is going to allow you to scry so many cards. You will be able to see so many cards in just a few turns that you can just try to line up and find these 3 combo pieces so you can combo off. Also in the 2-drop slot, of course, we've got Prosperous Innkeeper, which is becoming more and more popular in a lot of these creature-based combo decks. The ability to create a treasure token is certainly very sweet. It allows us to cast Collected Company a lot sooner, a turn sooner, can fix mana issues. Just a third instance of the gain life effect that we need to combo off. So this guy's certainly excellent. In our 3-drop slot, of course, we have the 2 combo pieces in Squirrel, Heliod. And then I already mentioned Collected Company, but one of the kind of a newer modifications that I'm excited to kind of share that I don't see anybody really running this card is this Incubation Incongruity half card. And at least in my deck, I'm only looking to run the Incubation side, which is an excellent card. What we get to do is for 1 green, we're looking at the top 5 cards of our library, and we're revealing any creature card and putting it into our hand. This just allows us to dig so deep into the deck quickly and get such powerful selection to, again, line up these 3 combo pieces as fast as possible and as consistently as possible. And again, when we do that, we just combo off and most likely can win the game. Now, with such a high creature density in this deck, we don't have to worry too much about whiffing. Obviously, it totally sucks if you do, and you don't find a creature in the top 5. However, it's not a complete and utter bust, because the interesting thing about this deck is that, unlike Modern, we don't have fetch lands or any other search abilities to just outright find a creature in our deck. So this means that even if you whiff, you're looking at the top 5 cards of your library, and you're just dumping those. You're putting them in the bottom of your deck, and you're just getting potentially closer to one of these combo pieces, which can be the difference of just winning or losing when you hit that. So I think it's a really underused, kind of underrated card that I haven't really seen, at least in my experience on ladder. I haven't seen anybody else running this in this sort of combo deck. And also, with regards to other people running this combo deck, I'm surprised. I just really don't see this a lot in ladder, even in Mythic. I'm starting to see it a little bit more, but my theories for that, I think that a lot of people just maybe don't have the patience, and I totally understand it, to try to combo off in an infinite way in a digital version of Magic like this. It's obviously kind of ridiculous and difficult, and maybe you'll induce carpal tunnel syndrome just trying to have to click through the combo and handle all these triggers can get absolutely ridiculous. So I think a lot of people just get turned off from this deck and don't want to play it for those reasons. But if you can slog through and are psychotic enough like me to actually just push through and persevere and click through, I think this deck is extremely powerful. Lastly, in the land slot, we've got really nothing special going on here. I've opted not even to run any of the so-called man lands, which certainly would help a little bit against control, but I've opted for just a pretty simple base here, just white-green lands, trying to maximize lands that don't have to come into play tapped ever, because sometimes that can make or break being able to combo off, and could be, again, the difference of winning or losing a game. But so in terms of matchups with this deck, it's got an excellent Elves matchup. It may seem counterintuitive as fast as Elves is, but all you have to do is really survive a few turns, and once you hit the combo, it's over. Like they can't do anything. Elves right now in October ladder, they don't run, at least in best of one, they're not running main deck any sort of removal, at least generally speaking. So they're pretty much just dead once you combo off. Again, it can be stressful playing against them, because a lot of times with this deck, you'll get people that are, kind of sore losers, because it's really annoying to just lose out of nowhere when somebody combos off like this. But that's really the real power in this deck. The ability to just constantly be threatening to combo off makes it a really dangerous and scary deck to play against, because without knowledge of your opponent's hand or what's on the top of their library, you just have no idea what's going on. You could lose out of nowhere. You could lose in your own end step at instant speed if you cast Collected Company and just hit your combo pieces. make infinite squirrels in their end step, and then they lose the next turn. So it's got great elves matchup. Played a little bit of Merfolk so far. It seems solid against Merfolk as well. Generally speaking, just against any other creature decks, it's pretty solid because Soul Warden is so powerful. It allows you to gain so much life and stay alive. And when you're scrying and viewing so many cards, you're going to hit the combo. And again, there's just that tension between these powerful 2-drops that can get so big so fast. There's a lot of pressure on your opponent to remove these. And that's fine. Like, that's just less removal that they have to deal with the combo when you finally do combo off. So it's really powerful. I think it's an amazing best of one choice. I've cruised into Mythic pretty easily this month, relatively quickly. So it's definitely, it's got what it takes to get there for sure. In terms of bad matchups, you could probably guess, but Control is definitely a very difficult matchup. Red, white, blue Control can be extremely difficult and just a pain to play against. But you do, of course, have Collected Company, which is your best shot at their end step. Most often you're going to be playing this at their end step to just put the pressure on them to have to use mana to counterspell this if they can in their own turn, so that hopefully they don't have the mana or the resources available that you can potentially combo off on your turn, or maybe even hit another Collected Company. It's not a completely unwinnable matchup. It is unfavorable, but you do have a lot of, again, these high pressure creatures that if they don't necessarily line up Wrath of God effects or sweepers early enough, sometimes Anger of the Gods is just not good enough if these guys get too large. So it's not unwinnable. You can certainly win against Control, but it is difficult. But all in all, I think it's just a really sweet deck. And again, I think this inclusion of Incubation I've been really happy with. And I haven't really seen anybody using this type of card. And it's kind of similar if you're familiar with the Urzatron decks in Modern with Ancient Stirrings, which has been a long time staple for years and years now, where it's just 1 green and you're looking at the top 5 cards of your library, in that case, to find a colorless card. But it's very similar here. We're just trying to find a combo piece. Whereas Urzatron, they're trying to line up their Urza lands to exploit a lot of mana quickly. But it's just a sweet card all in all. It's really been overperforming for me. It's extremely satisfying when you cast this and you don't have the combo piece, but you line up the last piece and you can just win from there. That's certainly juicy. That feels really good. Notably speaking, the other half of this card, Incongruity, where you get to exile a creature and the controller gets a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token, as it were. I have, as you can see, not opted to run any blue mana to try to have the possibility of playing this card. Something that maybe could be experimented with, but I'm just trying to go as simple as possible, straightforward. I'm only looking to play Incubation. The deck is relatively easy to play. You're just trying to get this combo as fast as possible and just win and get your opponent to tap out in most instances. Some other things to talk about. There's a million nuances we could go on with this deck, but I have recently run into the mirror and I've noticed some interesting tech that other people have been using. The Ajani Planeswalker that has the ultimate where if you have, I think, like 15 life greater than your initial starting total, you get to exile all creatures and planeswalkers your opponents control, or at least something similar to that. That could be a great mirror breaker. I actually got blown up by that card just the other day, which was, I'm sure, very satisfying for my opponent. But there's a lot of different angles and ways you can build this depending on the meta. If a lot of combo decks become prevalent, you might want to consider more removal. But again, in just best of one, keeping it super simple. We're not trying to prepare for every possible deck we could see on the ladder. We're just going to try to execute one really powerful strategy and go from there. And most often that's good enough to win in just a blind, open meta where the opponent has no idea what you're playing. In terms of best of three, we'll probably do another video to cover that or explore that format a lot more in the future. But best of three sideboarding options could get really interesting with this deck, because being that it's kind of a creature toolbox deck, there's so many fun and interesting creature hate cards that you can use to kind of hate out other decks and get more removal. But we'll touch on that another time. Again, I was just happy to show you this deck. I think it's a pretty sweet choice. Look forward to more videos. I'll probably start streaming with this deck a lot more and record some actual high mythic gameplay to just see what this looks like on the ladder. Again, it's a pretty sweet deck. Thanks for watching.